So today we're taking a look at rotations and how do you draw the image of a figure under a rotation. So we're going to begin with this point right here, this angle, and we're going to see if we can rotate it. We're going to see if we can rotate it a given amount. So let's rotate this entire thing 90 degrees. So what I can see if I'm trying to rotate it 90 degrees on this point, I want to be able to go ahead and set up with my 0 line running. And 90 degrees, I'll use a straight edge to help line that up. 90 degrees is along this line. Now all I need to do is be capable of transferring that image into its new place. And I'm going to use a common trick that we've been using here, and I'm going to use patty paper. I'm going to go ahead and trace my image first. So when I trace that image, that way I can dirty the back of the paper, and this is going to allow me to go ahead and transfer the image into a new place. Now, with it over itself originally, I use the pencil to hold down my point of rotation, and I'm going to rotate its given number of degrees. It's the bottom line that I need to line up with that 90. So since I had my point, I can go ahead and line it up. And once it's lined up, holding the patty paper in place, I'm going to trace it. And I've now managed to rotate that image on its own pivot point by 90 degrees. That amount of rotation, 90 degrees, that's called the angle of rotation. So with that being an angle of rotation, and that's great, but can I figure out how to take an image that has already been rotated and find a new one? So again, going to patty paper. It's the fast, easy way to work on things. I'm going to place a piece of patty paper over top of my image that has already been rotated. And I'm going to trace my pre-image, and I'm going to go ahead and label it A, B, and C. And I'm going to trace the image itself of A, B, and C and mark it A prime, B prime, and C prime. Now what I want to do is I want to find the line from A to A prime. So I'm simply going to line those two up. And when I put A over A prime, what I've actually constructed is a perpendicular bisector of A to A prime, and I can go ahead and highlight that line. That's giving me something to work off of. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up B over B prime. And when I line B over B prime, it's not exactly the same line as A over A prime. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and trace that onto the paper. And I see there's an intersection. Now that same intersection would happen if I lined up C over C prime. But the good news is when I dirty the back of the paper, I line up my image and pre-image to where they originally were, and I can go ahead and put that point onto my graph. And on my graph, I can see that the point of rotation, its axis point, is at -3, -1. Now if I needed to be able to figure out exactly how much it has rotated, I'm going to use straight lines to do it, and I'm just going to simply extend those lines. I'm going to extend through A and through A prime. Now I have to watch what's going on with this protractor because this is a negative rotation. I'm going to count it as a positive number. Obviously need to extend this line a little bit. I'm going to line up my 0 to A prime, and I see that I have a 105 degree rotation. But it's going in the opposite direction, so it is a negative 105 degree rotation. And that's how we can find the point of rotation, its axis, we can find its degree of rotation, and we can transcribe its rotation to a new place.